Okay. Sorry for the delay. We'll head start then. Gora Graganya Gana Go to Goloru Haram Goranga Gurutama Gopyada Kopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Tama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachila Jile Kakola Kahe Premananda Hemona Goranga Hridoya Dari Abola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangera Namare Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Say Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Vidana Parama Pumarta Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Srikriyat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Rishiyustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunatha Praha Brajabala Vapahimam Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, nice to see everybody here today. Just looking to see. I do have it right there. Oh, and I should probably. Give you a book. Yeah. Look on that for a little bit while we're here. So, I've taken, gosh, I don't know how long it's been since we've been working on the mangalacaran for CC. It seems like a year or something, a long time at least. And we've really elaborately gone through each of the verses. Now I'd just like to go back and just give a little overview of the whole thing. And a lot of it's a review, but it's more than just a review, it's an overview. We're going to try to look at things from the top down and see it as a whole. So let me see here if I can share my screen. So the first 7 verses of Guru Maharaj's Mangalacharan, I found it significant that they're all what we might call common verses. He starts off with Om Ganatana and Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhista, then Vandeham Sri Guru, then He Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, then Vanchakalpa the Rubhischa, then Namo Mahava, the Nyaya verse. And then he goes on to something a little different. So let's just bear in mind the purpose of Mangalacharan. And I want to look back a little bit. There's a really nice, wonderful book called the Harinam Wreath of Yakarana, some of you may have heard of, which is written by Jiva Goswami. And it's a book to help someone understand Sanskrit grammar. I can't say that I'm real familiar with that book, but I've gone through parts of it. Anyway, there's a commentary on it called the Bala Toshinitika, which was written by a Vaishnava named Hari Krishna Acharya and then later revised by another Vaishnava named Gopi Charan Das. And Bala Toshinitika means a commentary which gives pleasure to children. In other words, it's something which is very simple or introductory. And in there he gives a definition from mangalacaran. Asir namas kriya vastu nirdesha vapitan mukam iti mangalacharanam. Iti mangalacharanam. This is mangalacharanam, that it serves certain purposes. It evokes auspiciousness. That's its main purpose, and it does that by Ashir, by doing some Ashirvad, by offering a benediction. Namaskriya is the second, by offering obeisances. And the third is Vastu Nirdesh, or defining the subject matter. And we spoke about this at length from Chaitanya Charitamrita of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and also from Srila Jiva Goswami's Tattva Sundarbha, and the commentary in there, which is accredited to Baladevi Vibhushan, where he speaks about different types of mangalacharans. And I'm not going to go so much into that right now. We did that elaborately, but I would like to touch on something from Harinam Yakarana. He gives what he calls Anubandha Chatushtoy. Bandha means a connection. Anubandha, or four. Chatushtoy means four, so it's four elements to connect us, or following a connection. Anu means to follow. Four essential elements, one person translated of a sacred book. Adhikari cha sambandho vishayascha prayojanam avashyam eva vaktavyam shastra do tu chatushnayam. First of all, there has to be an adhikari. The eligible person has to be determined. This is an essential part of the book. As Jiva Goswami and Paramatma Sundarbha describes, there's 6 different ways to understand a book. And the first is, looks like Glenn Ty's making some comment here. Oh, Leela Purushottam Prabhu. Does somebody have the password for Zoom? Can you give to him? Otherwise, I'll bring it up in just one moment here. You have to be thinking about who is your audience. And Krishna speaks about this elaborately in Gita at the very end of the 18th chapter. He says, Idam te narapaskaya. Don't speak this. Idam te narapaskaya, to someone who's not austere. Idam te narapaskaya nabhaktaya, who's not a devotee. Kadachana nachasha shushave vacham. Someone who's not rendering service. Nachayam anusuyave, someone who's envious. Don't try to speak this thing to them. So we understand Bhagavad Gita is for everyone, but Krishna is speaking about what is the qualification. So that qualification is a very important thing. I'm just pasting in the Zoom link for Leela Purushottam Prabhu. Oh, thank you, Krishna Khan. So the person has to be adhikari. And then we have to speak about the sambandha. I personally find this very, very important, and I would encourage anybody who speaks Krishna Katha, you have to think about the sambandha. I've gone to the university sometimes, right? I've met different sadhus who are, oh my God, your head will explode, elevated in terms of knowledge of Shastra and Sanskrit, etc. And as we've given the example before, just like someone at Venice Beach, which is a place in California where there's a lot of weightlifters. And when you have big muscles, you have to use them. You have to show them off and lift weights or get in a fight with somebody and whatever. So people have to they have to use what they have. According to their particular swabhav, their particular nature, you should speak to them. It's going to be natural. So we have, if someone likes a lot of Shastra and things and they're very brilliant, that's nice. But if they don't understand the sambandha, the connection of that subject matter with the people they're talking to and with their adhikar, then what's the value of it? It's a little bit of a crude American expression, but I call that mental masturbation. It's just someone who's just enjoying himself for their own pleasure, and nobody else can understand what's going on. What's the value of that? That's not a real speaker. Sometimes I found devotees, when they learn a little Bengali, a little Sanskrit, and they start reading some other commentaries, there's a number of commentaries in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you start reading some of the others and you say, oh my God, this is so esoteric, what they're giving. And Srila Prabhupada just gave like really basic, simple thing. And sometimes some doubt creeps in their mind, and they might even think, oh, actually this person knows more than Srila Prabhupada. And that happens. That's the beginning of someone's misfortune. And they end up leaving their guru and leaving their Guru Maharaj's Seva Sangha. I found reading the commentaries of Srila Prabhupada and comparing them to other acharyas like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami and others, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and his commentary in Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita, they wrote in a very simple way. But here and there you can see they know very, very profound, very deep things, but they're not bringing that up because they're speaking to their particular audience. And I've spoke a lot about this before. I just want to touch on it again. If you're, when I speak to babies, there's a friend of ours in Bhubaneswar, they have a little baby, and that baby really likes me. And every time I see that, I just go there and go, and I poke the little baby, you know, and I make funny sounds like that. And the baby just loves me, thinks I'm totally cool. Now, if I did that with a college professor, or the mahant of some temple or something, not cool. It's not going to work. So, inherent in the conception of what mangalacharana is that we want to speak these things according to adhikaricha sambandho, according to the adhikar of the person, and according to sambandha. We want to give them a connection with the subject matter. So my Guru Maharaj never explained his mangalacharana. I'm explaining this through the window of my particular vision, as good or bad as that may be. From my particular vision, from what I know of him, my talks with him and things, I feel that these first 7 verses, he gave a basic verses which devotees were used to, because that's their adhikar, and because just like one sannyasi friend of mine who was preaching in South America like 30 years ago, he told me at that time the devotees, especially in South America, really didn't know very much, and they're almost as fanatical as Russian devotees or Ukrainian devotees, Ukrainian brahmacharis. They're like fanaticism on steroids sometimes. So he gave a class, and he quoted Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and after the class, one of the devotees came to him, and he said, Maharaj, who is this Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur? Is he bona fide? It's laughable, it's a little sad. Lila Purushottam Prabhu, I know we'll feel very sad hearing that. But at the same time, it's also real, because they don't understand that. And we shouldn't be angry with a child because a child can't understand something. We should be understanding. Sometimes I see people, even with brand new people who are coming, say, this person's not genuine. They'll criticize some movie star or famous musician or something who's coming around with the devotees. Yeah, they're not really sincere. They're not surrendering. They're not giving all their money. Am I completely surrendered? I should ask that question first. and the answer to that question might be a little depressing. So before I demand from someone else, we should be very, very tolerant. We should see and deal with people according to their adhikar. So I feel like these 7 verses, these first 7 verses, giving an overview of this, Guru Maharaj is seeing the adhikar of his audience and speaking in a certain way. So there's 4 essential elements, Anubandha Chatushtay from Harinam, Wreath, Yakarana, which are elements of a mangalacharana also. There should be an adhikari, qualified person. There should be a relationship, a sambandha. Then there should be Vishai, or Abhideya. What is the subject matter? And this is another important aspect of Mangalacharana verse that's called Vastu Nirdesh also. What is the subject matter of the book that we're going to present? So Guru Maharaj also does that within his Mangalacharana. But again, these first 7 verses, he's just starting off in a way that everybody's going to feel real comfortable. And then on the 8th verse, all of a sudden, he switches gears. And the devotees start hearing all these far-out verses that they're not used to and things. So for Anubandha Chatushtoy, the first is Adhikar, second is Sambandha, the third is Vishai or Abhideya, and the fourth is what is the purpose, what is the prayojan, what is the necessity, prayojan means what is the necessity, what is the purpose of this Mangalacharana. And a Mangalacharana should give all of these things. It's Anubandha Chatushtoy. And Guru Maharaj is doing that inside of these things. So let me go back now to the first verse of his Mangalacharana. He begins with Om Jnana Timirandasya. He begins with Guru. And I also, for me, from my personal perspective, I see the Guru Maharaj's Mangalacharana really is kind of a reflection of Narottam Das Thakur's Prem Bhakti Chandrika. It starts with Narottam's Prem Bhakti Chandrika, and he doesn't finish with it exactly, but some of the very last verses are also from Prem Bhakti Chandrika. And we see the spirit of Prem Bhakti Chandrika throughout. That's also why in our next sessions I want to go on to Prem Bhakti Chandrika. So he starts off with this verse. This is the first verse of Prem Bhakti Chandrika. It doesn't say Om in Prem Bhakti Chandrika. It starts with Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. And in this Mangalacharana prayer then, he's accomplishing several things. By the way, this is text 34 of the Guru Gita from the Skanda Purana. We mentioned that previously. These prayers are said to have been written by Vyasadeva, and they're originally spoken by Lord Shiva. So this is a classic prayer to Guru, and it's indicating that I'm Ajnana. And in particular, I'm Andha. I'm blind. I can't see anything. So my position is being stated in the beginning of the Mangalacharana prayers. And I feel that Guru Maharaj is giving an instruction to the listeners that you should understand your purpose in being is because you're blind. You can't see anything. And so with that salakaya is a kind of medical instrument that they use to put ointment on the eyes. And chaksha ummilitam, then the eyes are open. And it's open with this jnananjana. Sometimes the ointment of jnana or knowledge. Sometimes devotees, I honestly speaking, especially followers of my Guru Maharaj, they like to stress that Guru should be Srup Shakti Krishna Pushta Parikar Mahabhagavat Nityasiddha. And certainly, that's what Guru should be. It's not that you accept someone and you say, Maharaj, will you accept me as your disciple because I really like the way you fold your dhoti, or I like the way I like your beard, or this or that. But we should have faith in Guru. That's the primary considerations. I give the example, the primary quality between a husband and wife should be affection or love. If someone goes to a woman and says, will you marry me? I think you're really ugly and I'm not attracted by you, but, I need to have a wife and would you marry me? She'll probably slap him in the face and go away. So the primary quality of the disciple with the Guru is Shraddha, is faith. He has to have that faith. So he should feel that Gurudev is Srup Shakti Krishna Pushta Parikar, he's an eternal associate of Krishna, or the energy of Krishna's eternal associates were manifest here. And if he doesn't feel that way, then don't go there. Find someone else. Pray to Krishna, cry to Krishna to send you Guru, because that's the qualification. You should have that kind of attitude. And we should have the attitude that Gurudev, he can open my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. So going back to my point here, Jnananjana, I find a lot of times devotees give this kind of real mystical far out thing, Gurudev has to be like this and this. And as I mentioned, we should certainly have faith like that, but at the same time, we shouldn't be militant or angry and try to say only someone who's like this can initiate. Although Srila Prabhupada sometimes says like that, and our acharyas say like that, but other times they said other things. Prabhupada said, I want that all of my disciples, all of my daughters, all my male and female disciples should initiate disciples. So to bring it home to another point, to illustrate in another way, Lord Shiva is the head of a Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya. But Lord Shiva, he says that I can't remember the saying, it's a famous saying from him. It's in the back of my mind. Anyway, he says that Mukti Pradatta Sarvesham Vishnu Loka Nasangsaya. Only Vishnu can give liberation. So, Lord Shiva, he's saying, I can't give liberation. But then he's supposed to be the founder of a Vaishnava Sampradaya. And we say that Gurudev, he gives us prem bhakti, he gives us liberation, he gives us... So how do we reconcile these two different understandings? The reconciliation is there in the process. I'm a little attached to my godbrother Haladar Maharaj, and he's been asking me to do yagyas for the initiation ceremonies, and I'm happy to do that. And one reason is because I see he's he has strong faith in the process of Krishna consciousness. I've spoke with him and I've seen his very humble nature, and like a true Vaishnava, he really doesn't feel that he's qualified to give anything. But he has strong faith in our Guru Maharaj, and he has strong faith in the process of chanting the holy names. So here in this verse it's saying, Gyananjana Shalakaya, that by this knowledge, this Gyan, Gurudev is giving this thing. So that knowledge is a very, very important thing. Guru Maharaj is, I think, indicating this in the beginning. He's also indicating that we should understand the difference between drashta and drishta, the seer and the seen, by speaking about how andasya, I'm blind, I can't see. Gurudev is the seer. So this is something that Guru Maharaj stressed over and over and over again, that we can't see. Yes, Krishna Kun.
So on the Zoom, you just see looking for the phone, black screen, and looking for the phone. You are not visible.
Looking for the phone?
Yeah, it seems that the video, I don't know, something is up.
The iPad's
I
gone
didn't
off.
know this because I'm just hearing.
Yeah. Give me a minute. Thank you, Krishna
Sorry
Kun.
about that.
No, that's good. Some devotees are making kind of waving at me at some of these too. Let's see what's up. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. Is that working now? Can you guys see me? You're probably better off without seeing me.
It's much better to see you.
I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at the comments or anything either. Yeah, thank you, Jaguar. Yeah, and Radha Jeevan Prabhu, you're right, there was a cricket match going on outside, but fortunately it's getting dark now and they've gone away. I'm very happy. So, overview of this mangalacaran prayers. Om Jnanatam Randashay, starting with this classical verse, indicating, one says too, that we should understand the beginning of this discussion, our position. I'm not the seer. Drashta means the seer. Drishta means the one who's meant to be seen. And my Guru Maharaj, in one lecture in Bhubaneswar, he commented, are you the seer? Do you have proper vision? A conditioned soul has 4 defects, Brahma, Pramada, Vipralipsa, and Karanapatava. You have defective senses. How can you see? You're not the seer, but rather you're to be seen. The seer is Krishna, the seer is Guru. You have no vision. The vision you have is defective vision. How can a conditioned soul be the seer? So we shouldn't try to measure Vaishnava and Guru. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur he spoke about that quite often. Let's see if I can find this statement from him. It's a very beautiful statement from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Guru Maharaj, by the way, when speaking about this, he would often say that how do you see the sun? We can come out and say the sun is like this and this, and during the nighttime you can shine all the lights you want in the sky, but you can't see the sun by those lights. The only way you can see the sun is by the help of the sun, by the sunshine. So the only way that we can see Guru is by the mercy of Guru. Otherwise we'll look at him and we'll say, oh, he doesn't quote Shastra so nice, he doesn't pronounce things so well, he doesn't know Bengali, he doesn't have a beard, he's not old, he's not this or that, and we'll be cheated. So let me find the statement of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta here. This is very nice. This is from Amritavani, which is a collection which was put together by one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples, of statements from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Yeah, let's put this on the screen here. He says, as soon as we try to argue with our Guru, as soon as we attempt to measure the Guru with our mundane knowledge, and as soon as we imitate the Guru rather than follow him, we invite inauspiciousness and ruination upon ourselves. We attain benefit only when we give up such a mentality. Mundane wealth, education, expertise, and knowledge are not good assets for devotees, because they influence one to disregard Guru and Vaishnavas. As a result, one may become bereft of the Guru in Krishna's service. It's a very heavy statement. Mundane wealth, education, expertise, and knowledge are not good assets for devotees. Now, when we have a mundane vision of Krishna consciousness, we think that making a lot of money for Krishna is everything. We think having a Bhakti Shastri, or better yet a Bhakti Vaibhava, or better yet a Bhakti Vedanta degree with a good score, good grades, is the real thing, and knowing so many verses and whatever, having some expertise in kirtan and cooking or whatever, some knowledge, we think this is what it means to be a devotee. But that's the vision of the Bahirmukh Janas, the external persons. And this is part of what is indicated by this verse, Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya, that I'm a blind person. I can't see. And Gurudev is someone who sees. And the classic example of that is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who was given the title Saraswati by persons in the university, very learned persons, because he was an incredible scholar himself. But he took initiation from Gaurkishoras Babaji, who, his two favorite books were Prem Bhakti Chandrika and Partana. He liked to read, but he couldn't read Sanskrit. And at that time in India, if someone can't read Sanskrit, they're not considered to be a scholar at all. They're considered to be illiterate. So Gaurkishoras Babaji was like that, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta approached him and accepted him as Guru. And we should learn from that. It's a very, very important principle. So I see a number of these things in this first verse, and I'm saying I see these things, and I see them through what my Guru Maharaj was speaking. Many, many times he stressed how you can't see, how you can't understand. Once, I'll tell you one of my favorite stories. Guru Maharaj gave a class in Bhubaneswar about Lord Brahma, spoke some things about Brahma. And after the class, I was carrying his notebooks. I was walking right next to him, coming down the steps. And as I was walking, I wasn't looking at him, I was looking ahead, because there's a big crowd of devotees around us, and we're going down steps, and if I don't look ahead, I'm going to stumble and fall. So I was looking ahead, but I was talking to him at the same time. And I asked him a question. I said, Guru Maharaj, how do we understand that Lord Brahma is the founder of our sampradaya, but he had lusty desires for his own daughter? And I'm not looking at him, I'm looking ahead. And Guru Maharaj is just quiet. Now all of a sudden, after a moment, I saw out of the corner of my eye a hand coming, and whap! Guru Maharaj slapped me in the face. And he didn't really answer my question. He just told me, don't find fault. And that was a very beautiful act of mercy upon me. And he could have said so many philosophical things. He knows Shastra. He could have quoted some commentaries and gave some philosophical answer. But rather, he put me in my place, which was needed. I can give you another example. I'm such a bad person. The first time I met Guru Maharaj in 1991, he gave a class in Alachua Temple, and that night he gave a darshan program in someone's home. And I went to that program. And he spoke something about Sudha Bhakti. And I was really impressed. This person seems really like a sadhu. So a question came in my mind. I said, Maharaj, it's not exactly according to the topic you spoke tonight, but we see in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, there's two groups. There's the Vadakalites and the Tankalites, headed by Manavala Mamuni and Vedanta Deshika. And the Vadakalites, they have this philosophy like this, and the Tankalites. And I started to express something very, very philosophical and technical. And I mentioned how the Vadakalites, they reject bhakti as a means, but they only accept prapati or surrender. And when I said this to him, he just immediately cut through all of my intellectual crap, excuse my language, and just said, reject bhakti, nonsense, and like this. And help me to understand that it's not on the strength of our scholarship, but Bahir Janas will always see in this way. So I want to try to go a little bit faster than we are going, but I want to share with you one more quote from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, which I think is very beautiful in this regard. He says that unless one develops faith, we say ado shraddha, faith. If you don't develop faith, then you can't see a pure devotee. There's several things. First thing is you can't see a pure devotee. Second thing is you can't see the Supreme Lord. And then there's a third thing. And the third thing is if you can't see these first two, then you're going to end up engaged in three types of behavior. Guaranteed. If you don't have faith, you can't see a pure devotee or the Lord, and you're simply going to indulge in envious, violent, or blasphemous activities. One or more. Maybe you do all three. You're going to be envious of the sadhu because you don't have faith in the sadhu. Therefore, idam te narapaske na bhakte kadachana chashishusave vacham na chamam abhyasuyati. If someone's abhyasuyati, Krishna says in the 18th chapter of the Gita, don't speak to them. They don't have adhikar for this subject. And by giving this first verse, amagana timarandasya, indirectly, he's indicating what is our adhikar. So if you don't have faith in sadhu guru, don't come here. It's fine. Go somewhere else. But don't come here. Otherwise, you're just going to end up being envious or maybe even violent, trying to hurt someone physically or through some words, or engaging in blasphemous activities. You're going to hurt yourself and you're going to hurt others around you. So, kind of a summary then of this first verse, some of the things that I see. And by the way, that comment from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta also was from the Amritavani. Amritavani was a collection, was put together by Bhakti Bhagavat Mayuk Maharaj, a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and was translated some time back by Ishvara Prabhu, my god brother, and published by him. So, in a summary of this first verse, it gives us some faith by giving some common mangalacaran devotees can relate to. He begins with Guru, and he indicates that we're not the seers. So let's go on. I want to try to cover 2 or 3 verses if I can. Next verse, again, is kind of what we might put in quotes and say a common mangalacaran verse that devotees can relate to. Now he's established a foundation with Ajnana Timarandasya, and then the next verse is Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishta Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He's offering, this is some namaskar, he's offering obeisances, and I would suggest even it's also Vastu Nirdesh. We mentioned these 3 types of Mangalacaran Tattva. And our purpose is not just that everybody memorizes all these technical terms and philosophical points, but just to use those terms. My Guru Maharaj like that. Vasunirdesh, Ashirbad, and Namaskar, the three aspects of the Mangalacharan prayers. So these first two verses are Namaskar. They're offering obeisances. But I would suggest they're also Vasunirdesh. They're also defining what is our goal, our objective. That it's to surrender to Gurudev and to receive knowledge from Gurudev, which is not just Gyan, but Vigyan knowledge, something which is realized. And Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, we should understand who is the Acharya in our Sampradaya. And although devotees, oftentimes we speak of Srila Prabhupada, some devotees say Prabhupada is the Sampradaya Acharya. I don't have a problem with that in general, but Srila Prabhupada never said that. And I personally have some doubts that he would appreciate that, because Rupa Goswami is our Sampradaya Acharya. Srila Prabhupada said he's the founder Acharya of ISKCON. And I always suggest to devotees, why not you just keep him with that particular title? And anyway, we're Prabhupada Nugas in the sense that we're followers of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and we're Prabhupada Nugas because we're followers of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, and we're Prabhupada Nugas because we're followers of Rupa Goswami. But it begins with Rupa Goswami. And so Guru Maharaj, traditionally in Kirtan, Narottam Das Thakur, and again I see Prem Bhakti Chandrika here, Narottam Das Thakur taught us a system of Kirtan. And sometimes devotees, they think, oh, first of all I'll offer obeisances to the Vaishnavas, and then to Gurudev. No, wrong. First we offer obeisances to Gurudev. And then we offer obeisances to the Vaishnavas. Because I know the Vaishnavas because of Gurudev. How do I know the Vaishnavas? Because I'm chanting Hare Krishna, because I'm reading Srimad Bhagavatam. How do I know the Hare Krishna mantra, what it means, and Srimad Bhagavatam? Because of my Gurudev. So first I offer obeisances to Gurudev, and then to the Vaishnavas, and then we go to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's beginning by offering pranams to Guru, again and then he goes to Rupa Goswami, who is also our Guru. And I would suggest that, personally, I think he's doing this to indicate that Rupa Goswami is the Acharya in our Sampradaya. Why is he the Acharya? And I see in this verse also, trying to give an overview, a subtle point which is important for the devotees who are listening to the class, because again, the Mangalacharana, the purpose of the Mangalacharana is to get everybody's mind fixed and to have faith in the speaker and understand what is the purpose of the speaker, what is the subject of Vastu Nirdesh, what is there some ashirvad, some blessing. If you listen to this katha, you're going to get prem bhakti or whatever, and namaskar to offer some obeisances. So one of the purposes here too is to respect Rupa Goswami as Sri Chaitanya Manobhishta. He knows the inner mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So immediately, from my perspective, when you speak about this verse like this, then you're making a distinction. You've, as we might say in medieval England, you've drawn up, you've pulled up the drawbridge. Now there's a distinction where between mundane religion and prema bhakti and spirituality. Prema bhakti means that you know the manobhishta, the mind of your Gurudev. We want to know the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And how do we know that? We know that through Rupa Manjari, Rupa Goswami. And we give respect to Rupa Goswami. He's stapitam yena bhutale. Because he's Chaitanya Manobhishta, because he knows the inner mind of Mahaprabhu, then stapitam yena bhutale, he's able to establish it here. And that's also important. There are many Vaishnavas who may be exalted Vaishnavas, but they're not always so significant for everyone. To say something which might be a little unpalatable to some of the devotees here, please excuse me, but Gorkishore Das Babaji, in one sense, was not a significant Vaishnav for many persons. And I say that on the basis that he wasn't the guru of many persons. We see when there's many, just as one devotee told me, Sachinanda Maharaj, when I first started to go to the West to give classes, he said, will you come? He said, but to tell you the truth, unless you're a sannyasi, they're not really going to listen to you. And he said, and then to tell you the truth again, even if you're a sannyasi, they don't listen to you unless you're a guru. And if you're a guru and you're a sannyasi, that's the gold standard. And everybody's going to listen. Everyone's going to give respect to that. So Gorkishodas Babaji, for so many people, that many people respected him at that time, but they weren't all going to him to hear from him. They weren't all going to him for diksha or guidance. So he wasn't that. So Stapitam Nina Bhutale, we respect Gurudev, we respect Rupa Goswami because he's done this preaching effort. Because he's come and established this thing. It's not just his realizations, but because he knows the Manoabhishta of Mahaprabhu, and Stapitam Yena Bhutala, he's established that thing. Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. I want to take shelter of his lotus feet. I want to stay close. Antikam means to be very near to. So I want to stay very close to the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami. And what does that mean? I would suggest that in connection with the first verse, he's saying something very, very esoteric and very high. That Gurudev in our line, we see him, as my Guru Maharaj would sometimes comment, either as Nityananda Priya, a very dear devotee of Nityananda Prabhu, or Radha Priya Saki, or a intimate girl companion of Srimati Radharani. And generally in our line, we see the Guru is Saki Manjari, and we even sing this every morning. Nikunja Yuno Rati Keli Siddhyaya Yali Bir Yuktira Pekshaniya. The Gurudev is a Peksha, he's very expert in bringing Radha and Krishna together. That's the behavior of a Manjari. Once Rameshwar Prabhu in Hawaii asked Srila Prabhupada, how do we understand this prayer? And Prabhupada gave him a very interesting answer. He said it means that Gurudev is preaching, that he's doing book distribution. Because that's the work of the Saki Manjaris. We can't see, oh Gurudev, I had this dream, and that you were actually such and such Manjari and this thing. We can't speculate like that. But we can see that Gurudev is establishing Stapitamina Bhutale, this mission. And I want to stay close to him, Dadati Swapadantikam. Badantikam, I want to be close to his lotus feet, meaning I want to stay close to his teachings, meaning I want to be close to him because I see him in connection with Rupa Manjari, Rupa Goswami, because Rupa Goswami, how is it that he understands the Manoabhishta of Mahaprabhu? When we went over this verse, I read from a commentary on it, which is accredited to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and I'm not going to go all over that commentary again, but to summarize some of the most important points in that commentary, he raises an interesting question. Why is it that Rupa Goswami's Manoabhishta? Why not Nityananda Prabhu? Why not Advaita Acharya? Why not Gadadhar Pandit, Srivas Pandit, the members of the Panchatattva, or Sachimata, or some other devotee? Why is it in particular? And it doesn't mean that they're not Manoabhishta. They understand also the mind, but particular Rupa Goswami, because Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, the very intimate maidservant of Srimati Radharani. And therefore, when we say Stapitam Yena Bhutale, that he's established this mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I would suggest that we can see that in an internal way and an external way. Externally, it means that he established the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we should chant Hare Krishna, we should worship Krishna, we should read the Bhagavatam, we should offer our food, etc., etc. But another meaning is that he's established Stapitamina Bhutale, the inner mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is to taste the mood of Radharani. And Rupa Goswami, because he's Rupa Manjari, can do that. So I wanted to try to go a lot faster than I am. I have this disease. I like to go a little bit deep into things and take my time. I don't like to run over things very quickly, but that's our purpose in this overview. So let me just summarize in the second verse in the Mangalacaran, and then I think we'll go ahead and stop And if anybody has any reflections or comments or anything, they can go ahead. Just one second, I want to do something here. Krishna Kun, I just sent you a message. You can write me back when you can, please. So, the summary is that this verse also evokes some faith, some familiarity, because we're understanding what is a sambandha, the connection of the devotees, what is their adhikar. They need to hear something they're going to have faith in. And I think this is an important thing. My Guru Maharaj grew up in a Gaudiya Vaishnava family. He could have started off his lecture in fourth gear at 110 miles an hour, and the devotees would have completely freaked out. And some of them might have said, oh, he's a sahaja, he's like this and that. And he knew so many things, but he started off in a way with Prabhupada's mangalacaran from Gita, evoking it, so that to give them, I feel, some faith. So he begins with these verses, which begins with offering respect to Gurudev, and then to Rupa Goswami, who's our Sampradayacharya. The first verse is the first verse of Narottam Das Thakur's Prem Bhakti Chandrika. The second verse is the second verse in Prem Bhakti Chandrika. And in summarizing again the second verse, why Rupa Goswami, because he could fulfill Mahaprabhu's inner and outer desires to spread Krishna consciousness and to help him understand the inner mood of Srimati Radharani. And it also teaches us, in the phrase Mano Bhishta is there, that this is a real standard. This is not just mundane religion, where we're just coming and mechanically doing something. But no, Mano Bhishta is so important. What is the mood of Gurudev? What is the mood of the Vaishnavas? What is the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna? This is the treasure of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, to understand these things. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I had noticed something a little embarrassing for me. It looks, I think, a Smita Krishna Maharaj sitting at Lila Purushottam Prabhu. I didn't notice you until a couple minutes ago, Maharaj. Maharaj, thank you very much for taking part. You're encouraging me, as you always do, and as you have so many times in the past. I'm so happy to be able to see you today. I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and usually we ask the devotees if they have any reflections or comments or anything. So Maharaj, if you don't mind, since you're our senior Vaishnava here, do you have any reflections you wanted to share, something you liked or some thought that you had about something?
You gave me the answer to a couple of questions that a disciple of me had about something.
However I can serve you, Maharaj, I'm very happy to get to see you.
It's my pleasure also to see and hear you.
So you had some question or something you wanted to put forward, you said, or?
Fine.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Maharaj. We need your blessings very much. You know, I think it's such an important thing. We're speaking of this principle about speaking and about mangalacaran, and I find certain principles that I mentioned in our presentation today that I think are so important. And as someone who has a service of preaching, I find there's a kind of disease, and you'll understand this, Maharaj. The disease is that when people give you respect, and you go to different places and they give you the garland and they clap their hands and they say this and that, nice things about you, and then you go to the next place and maybe they don't even notice you. And then you become a little a little angry. Why you don't notice me? I'm a very important person. I should have this respect. And then it just spoils our bhakti. And so I feel that this mangalacaran also is for preachers. And it teaches us this very important principle that we should understand the difference between the seer and the seen by stating this verse, Agyanati Marandishya. And we should always respect the senior Vaishnavas. And also indicating in this verse, it's not just by how much information they have. You know, we respect disciples of Srila Prabhupada, not because they all know Sanskrit and have memorized Bhakti Sandarbha and this and that, but because of the amazing services they've done for Srila Prabhupada. And that's always very, very important that we do that. So anyway, I'm picking on you since Maharaj. Thank you for your Sangha, and thank you for all that you've done. I appreciate it. We miss your Sangha. Hare Krishna. Okay. Well, we got you here, Leela Purushottam Prabhu. Do you want to share any reflections or anything?
Well, I can. It was so. How to say? It was so nice to hear such a exalted and beautiful glorification of relationship of spiritual master and disciple, just sitting next to next to my Guru Maharaj. So it was really nourishing my relationship to Guru Maharaj, and I can be only glad for that. Thank you so much.
Well, that's one of the nicest things practically anybody said to me. Thank you, Leela Prabhu. And that's once Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj, Prabhupada's friend, disciple Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, who Prabhupada took sannyas from, he once said that the qualification of a Siksha Guru, and all the Vaishnavas in one sense are Siksha Gurus who are teaching, and there's different types of Siksha Gurus, and that's another topic, but the qualification of a Siksha Guru, he said, is that he brings one closer to the Diksha Guru. And he said if he doesn't bring one closer to the Diksha Guru, he's not a Siksha Guru, he's not a Vaishnava at all. That's the purpose. And as we were mentioning from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, if we don't have faith, and faith means what? Do I have faith because someone has a beard, or someone's an old man, or someone knows Sanskrit, or do I have faith because they're serving their guru? Do I have faith because they're speaking the teachings? We should have faith in the basic principles because I'm not the seer. And if we don't have that faith, then we're going to indulge in envious, violent, or blasphemous activities. And we won't be able to appreciate the Vaishnavas. It's such an important point.
Heavy statement, as usually from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati.
I hope you're nice to Gaurani Thai Prabhu. It looks like you sent him away. You didn't let him stay with you, huh?
Well, that was a great sadness that he didn't want to stay with us longer, but he continued to check forward to Krishna Vur.
I think the secret is you have to give him more prasadam next time.
And now I know the trick. Now I know the trick. Next time. I promise he will come back. He will visit us here in our house also. So
that's the trick of a household. You just give him so much prasadam that he can't fit through the door, so he can't leave.
I want him here.
Okay, thank you for what you. I should keep moving on. So Gaurani Thai Prabhu, since we're just talking about you, I hope that Leela Purushottam was nice to you when you visited him. Would you have any reflections, anything you'd like to offer?
You know, it's very difficult to say yes or no, because he gave so much prasadams that I couldn't really think. I just become not blind, but also senseless. It's taken one day, and I refreshed myself, have to refresh myself. So now I've started to thinking a little bit. So that's the case. So I cannot answer. I'm not just blind. I'm not just. No. That's the problem.
You know, Kavi Karnapur in his Ananda Vrindavan Champu, when he speaks about the pastime of Govardhan Puja, he mentions there that Krishna told his father that, dear father, you should feed everyone. You feed the Brahmins, you feed the cows, said feed the dogs, but don't feed Indra. And he mentions particularly that when you feed the Brahmins, you should feed them until they start laughing. That's the nature of prasadam. You should give them so much until when they start having laughing ecstasy, then you know you've given them enough. So I don't know if you were laughing in his home, but you're laughing now. So, do you have any reflections on our discussion today, Prabhu?
Yes, I have a question. You mentioned that we are blind, and I totally agree. So this is quite upside down, seeing the world. recognizing that we don't see the world, we see our mind, and that mind is not really a perfect spectacle. So, but we heard many times that we should see by our ears, by Shastra Chaksus. But if we are blind still, how can we do that? Can you help me to understand?
Your mic is off, Prabhu.
You are not unmuted.
Thank you. In the third canto of the Bhagavatam, chapter 9, text 11, it said, Shutekshita Pata. And it's interesting, it doesn't say that we should hear through the ears, but it says that it should be the pata, or the pathway of seeing through the ears. It's the pathway, we're not just trying to understand just through the ears, but it's the pathway. Why is it the pathway? Because when we hear from Sadhu Guru, and Chittete Koriya Aikya, we make our consciousness one with the message that Gurudev has given. That's the pathway to what? That's the pathway to getting Gurudev's blessings. Then Gurudev becomes pleased. Not just that when someone comes and they have a pen and paper and they write down everything, all the notes, and I'm not against taking notes. I also take notes on things. But it's not that that's the purpose. Sometimes someone's giving a class and you see these guys and they're thinking, Maharaj, can you tell me again that verse number and what is that technical word? And you see they haven't even understood the spirit of what you're saying. We have so many different philosophical, technical terms and shastric points to support things. But the main thing is not those verses. The main thing is not those terms. The main thing is the spirit. So Shutekshita Pata, we see through the ears, the path of seeing through the ears. And that pathway is not static. It's not in one place, but rather it's ecstatic. Shushushoshadadanasya Vasudeva Kata Ruchi Shan Mahaseva Viprapunyatirtha Nisevana. By serving Sadhu Guru, then we get Shravan Adhikar, or qualification to hear. And almost every time I speak, I mention this thing from Ramanujacharya's Gita Bhashya commentary, where there's three qualifications for Shravan Adhikar: Pranipat, Praniprasna, and Seva. We should submit ourselves to the speaker, to the message. We should inquire submissively. And we should render service to the speaker and to the message. And if we do that, then we can hear. And that, because that pleases the speaker, because this is a path of mercy. It's not the path of information. And actually, if someone comes to this path, and they're a Bahirmukh Jana, and they just come with their pencil and paper and trying to collect a lot of information, they're actually doing a kind of violence. They actually create a disturbance in the society. Because the real standard is, as we sometimes mention the story of Quraysh, who was one of the leading disciples of Ramanuja and was one of the greatest scholars of his time. He once went to his Guru Maharaj and asked him, can you please explain the meaning of the verse Sarva Dharmam Parityagya? And Ramanuja told him, well, that's a very deep thing. And the only way you can understand that, you have to go for at least 1 year just begging alms without knowing where you're going to get your meal. And Quraysh said, well, Guru Maharaj, that's a little tough, you know. Maybe I'm going to leave my body before then. That's a long time, 1 year. Is there some shortcut, some fast path that I can take? And Ramanuja said, okay, well, for 1 month, if you do like that, and you don't know where you're going to get your meal, you just depend on the Lord and you beg, then you come to me and I'll explain to you the meaning of this verse. So in our age today, we think it's a Google age, as we've commented before. We just think I just go to Google and I get everything, or we think that Gurudev is just supposed to give me information automatically. But if we think like that, it's a kind of violence to Srila Prabhupada's movement, and to Mahaprabhu's movement. How is it a kind of violence? It's a violence because then it promotes pride subtly in scholarship, and that scholarship becomes the standard of things, not surrender, not Guru Bhakti, not serving the mission of the Guru, but rather just how much information you can spew out. And it's a violence then because other people see that, and it hurts the movement because they think, oh, he's getting respect because he knows Sanskrit and things. So I should also learn respect, learn Sanskrit, then I'll get respect. And then it hurts the movement. Rather, we can be like Gorkishore Babaji. And honestly speaking, isn't it? We're a whole lot less than Gorkishore Babaji. He understood Bengali, but aside from that, which we don't, but aside from that, his spiritual qualification is everything. So Krishna in the Gita says, Raja Vidya Raja Guyam. That the topmost thing is Guyam. Raja, the topmost knowledge is Guyam, it's confidential, but it's Pratyak Savagamam Dharmyam. It's meant to be practically realized, and the symptom that you've realized it is Susukam Kartamavyayam, that you're fully blissful and happy. So, does that make some sense, then, Prabhuji? Thank you, Gornitai Prabhu. I appreciate it. I'm just really envious of that you got to go and spend some time with Leela Purushottam Prabhu when I wasn't there. Now we see who has Adhikar, because I don't have any Sukriti or Adhikar. I'm not able to do that. You have Adhikar, you're qualified. I want to ask Ujjwala Resiga if she has anything, because I know you're in the hospital probably, and you're going to have to go to work soon. Oh, and Brinda Sundari's here also, so maybe Ujjwala Resiga and then Brinda Sundari, because both of you have real life responsibilities that you have to get to, probably. Here's Ujjwala Resiga's hospital, and maybe in a moment we'll get to see her famous brick wall, or now she's showing us the sky behind her. Hare Krishna, Ujjwala Resiga.
Hare Krishna, my pranams to you, Prabhuji, and to all the wonderful devotees there. Prabhuji, Susikshita Pado, Nanunada Pumsam. That patha, that lightened my day, Prabhuji. When you said we have to be able to see the path. And this bhakti is not about information and entertainment. On that note, so that path is given by Sri Guru. If I am thinking that I'm doing bhakti, but I can't see the path, then I'm only a pretender. Only a pretender, and I'm just thinking that I'm doing bhakti. So that Susikshita Patha is like, you drop the pin. For GPS address, you drop the pin. So that word was like that, Prabhuji. On that note, so beautiful, Prabhuji. When we think of, at least myself, when I think of Bahirmukha, I think, oh, Bahirmukha is somebody else. It's not me. Because I'm introspecting. Wow, introspecting. Good. What kind of introspection are you doing if you're not able to see Susikshita Patha? If you're not able to see the path given by Gurudev, if you're not able to see Sri Guru and Krishna, what kind of introspection am I doing? So I really felt, ecstatic in the sense, you really nailed down the point that it is actually violence. If I do not speak or behave on the basis of that Susikshita Patha, whatever I even think is polluted, violent. That thinking and that speaking, though it looks like bhakti, it's complete violence. Formula went wrong. Everything got polluted. Violent for my sake, first of all. And what to speak of committing violence to others, not just few members, but the whole institution. If it is heading that way, it is really violence. So at a personal level and at a Sangha level, institution, which is supposed to be taking us to the most sacred space, if there is violence there, it's such a great misfortune, personally and for everybody in the institution. I'm very grateful, Prabhuji. Very grateful for these points, because I may be spending years and years in bhakti thinking I'm hearing so many lectures. My knowledge bank is full and I'm being entertained. But if I don't see the Susikshita Pata, Shri Guru and Krishna, then I'm insane. So thank you for giving me the sanity, Madhvananda Prabhuji. So indebted to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ujjwala Rasika. It's so nice to see you with like a kurta kind of thing on today. You're not dressed in your normal
No.
doctor's clothes. Always with tilak.
It's hot here, Prabhuji, summer. So I put the lab coat inside, and that's why it's summer hot here.
That's nice. You were commenting, I'm just reflecting on your comments that we only should take Shita Pata, the path. We only see the path. But again, what is that path? The path is Manobishta. It's not just the figure of Gurudev. Or Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev.
Yes.
I love my Guru because he's so handsome and so famous. He has a big position. But what is the desire? The path is understanding the desire of my Gurudev and the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And if we have anything else, it's violence in a sense to ourself and to our movement. We can't enter the spiritual world then. They're not going to let us inside, because this is a pathway, and just as a path you go along, and there's a toll bridge, you have to pay some toll, there's a gateway. So when we're going to come to some gateway and there's going to be some of Krishna's Sakhi Manjaris there or something, just like Lord Shiva when he wanted to enter the Ras Leela, some gopis stopped him. There's some qualification needed, and that qualification is the Shutekshita Pata, that we understand the pathway being the Mano-Abhishta, the desire of Gurudev. Anyway, thank you, Ujjwala Rasika. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank
So good. Hare Krishna. Okay, and Brenda Sundari, are you there? Are you available? Would you like to share something with us? And happy birthday. I think it was just your birthday recently, right? Someone told me you're 18 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm 18. That's right. Thank you for. Yeah, I've just been reflecting a lot about faith, and I found it interesting that you're making the point that, Prabhupada, he presented a certain level of spiritual topics, and one may go somewhere else and think, oh, this person's offering more. But more doesn't necessarily, like higher doesn't necessarily mean more. And then, along with that, we need to actually have faith, a proper amount of faith, understand that level. But I guess I was just thinking about how sometimes, like faith in a particular person, like in a guru, how it can change, and how one may feel faith in one person, and it sort of shifts, and then they feel more faith in another, and or at certain periods in our journey, it seems that our faith gets less, even though we've gone on in time. And so I remember one comment that a senior devotee said to me, and said that faith is not really, you can't really, faith moves on its own. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering, like, about this, how much can we really, we're actually responsible to sort of protect our faith, but at the same time, I'm seeing that myself and others in the journey, we actually realize that, oh, I don't have faith. That was actually sentiment. And now it's time for me to really have faith and grow faith.
Yeah, thank you. Great comments. So many times in the beginning, especially if you study sociology of religion, anyone in the university will tell you that the symptom of religious conversion is fanaticism. Someone was grown up in a Christian faith and then become Islamic, they become a Muslim. But they don't know the Quran, they don't know the language, they don't know the dress, they don't know the diet, they don't know so many things. So to make up for their lack of understanding of things, they become a hardcore fanatic. And I've seen the same thing with so many Western devotees, and myself when I first joined. When I first joined, I had a principle. I promised myself I'm going to dance for every minute of the kirtan. And the kirtan's starting, Nama, I'm out there. Kirtan's going very slow, and I dance for every minute of every kirtan because that was my conception, and perhaps because I wanted to be accepted by the devotees. So I had some kind of faith, but as you pointed out, that faith really is some sentiment. So it's not just that we hear some topics and because someone's giving something which is higher. And honestly speaking, some of the topics that you might hear in some Gaudiya Mutt temples or Babaji temples or something, they are higher. They are definitely higher than what the general thing you may hear in Srila Prabhupada's temple, which is generally you're not your body, and maybe you should be vegetarian when we're speaking to new people, and reincarnation and very basic things like that. And this has a little something to me too. It has something to me I see to do with the symptom of people leaving their guru, and I'm saying in a broad way, not just in ISKCON, but also with other persons. They think that, oh, my Gurudev, he didn't give enough. It's an interesting thing to me, amongst people who've left Srila Prabhupada's mission, have left their guru, I've never really heard anyone say, yeah, I didn't get it. He only gave me the Maha Mantra. I only got Srimad Bhagavatam. I only got teachings about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's not enough. No, I've never heard anybody say that as why the reason why they left. The reason why people leave is because I didn't like that temple president in the Denver temple, and they just abused me, and they're crazy and this and that, and it's because of a person. But then we should ask ourselves a very important question, embarrassing question: why did I come? Did I come because I want to get along with the temple president? Is that my purpose in joining the Hare Krishna movement? The temple president is the most important person? No. I came to do Nam Bhajan. And my faith should lie in that Nam Bhajan. And somebody's in charge now, but in 2 years or 5 or 10 years, there'll be somebody else. That'll change. And also the purpose of the temple really is not just for me. Hello. But the purpose of the temple is for outside people, for preaching. And we have devotees staying there to act as preachers. But for myself, as Srila Prabhupada told the devotees when they established the legal writ for ISKCON, the legal documents for ISKCON, who was it? One of the, Achyutananda commented this, I heard in one of his remembrances. He said that Prabhupada, when he signed that declaration, it's a very momentous moment. Now we have a society, a legal institution. Prabhupada then turned to the devotees and he said, actually, we don't need this. We can stay underneath a tree. But who will listen to us? So from that point, it seems clear to me that in one sense, the society is not for us. The institution's not for us. It's for us to serve the mission. But for myself, I can stay at home. And that's what we do here in Jagannath Puri. If you haven't figured that out, we have a little separate program for most of the temples. And I'm friendly. I go to the temples and things. But we have our separate program because I want to also help the mission in a different kind of way. But when I go to the temple, I expect that it's not appropriate for me to be speaking about Prema Bhakti Chandrika or, higher things. If I'm speaking to new people, the temple has a different kind of purpose. But then if I go to someone's home, if I visit the Denver temple and I give a Sunday feast lecture and I start speaking about Prema Bhakti Chandrika, you may say, Prabhu, that's really not cool. There's a bunch of new people here. But if I go to your home for a program, I might do it there because that's a proper thing. So again, we have to understand the adhikar of people and things. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling. I thank you very much for your reflections. I really appreciate that, Brindasuni. Anything else you want to add?
No, I just, yeah, I really appreciate just appreciate having this sheltering Sangha Kata. Thank you.
I appreciate what you're doing. And for myself, I always give you a little special attention in a way because I was a temple president in Seattle at one point, and we really need to respect and nourish the leaders also because it's a very thankless task. And today people just want to abuse them and hate them and whatever, and it's very discouraging. They need to have some inspiration, have a vision, and want to share that with people. And it's very discouraging if everybody just wants to poop on them and whatever, we need some encouragement. That's how our movement goes on. And furthermore, as I often tell devotees, you should always support the managers, because if you don't, you may end up becoming a manager. God forbid. Right? That happens to a lot of people. They start complaining and somebody says, well, actually you have some good ideas. Why don't you be in charge? Gee. And they put them in charge, and the one-time revolutionary all of a sudden becomes a status quo, and then everybody hates him, and that's the cycle. The way it goes. And we could give examples of that. Anyway, thank you very much. How are you doing? Hare Krishna. Tirthakar Prabhu, I'd like to go to you next if we can, but let me just read something from Gaura Nitai Prabhu. He says, connecting to convert faith of others, I'd like to mention the short book of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, From Moses to Mahaprabhu. According to that, changing from one religion to another means a different relationship to God, servant to master, son to father, friend to friend, and Paramour relationship. That's beautiful. Yeah, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was such a broad-minded genius. He wasn't just saying that oh, we're part of this yatra, we're part of this temple, we're ISKCON, they're Gaudiya Math, they're Babajis, or this or that, or they're Christians, or my God, they're Muslims. But rather he was saying the essential quality of faith that people had and devotion. And that's a beautiful point, I think, that's brought out in what you're saying here, Gaura Nitai Prabhu, and we should be like that. At the same time, we should be mature enough. It doesn't mean that I give up my faith or my relationship with Prabhupada's mission or my Gurudev. I should be mature enough to do both at the same time. I can be friends with so many Vaishnavas and even people who are Christians and Muslims, and I can love them. And honestly speaking, sometimes I might even have a better friendship with them than with some of my God brothers. It may work that way. But at the same time, I have my family. And that's my family, the family of my Gurudev. My family is Srila Prabhupada, my Param Gurudev, and I should always be very faithful to that and trying to serve that mission. And even sometimes I may do that a little bit on the side as a householder or whatever, not in the temple, but I should always be supportive. It's really, really important. Thank you, Gaura Nitai Prabhu. Ujjwal Reska, I think she likes his comments too. Let's see who else is here today. Tirthakar Prabhu, you wanted to share something? And then maybe Radha Jivan Gopal Prabhu.
Yes, just one thing, if you maybe can confirm my understanding, because I remember I was also listening your lectures on Guru Tattva. You speak quite some part on the seer and the seen. And also today you quoted this, unless one develop faith, one can see neither pure devotee nor Supreme Lord and will simply indulge in envious, violent and blasphemous activities. Somehow I understood that actually you can see the pure devotee or the Supreme Lord by the blessing of your Guru, that actually you can develop that faith by the blessing of Guru, and you can actually see by his blessing if this is correct.
Yeah, this is the meaning. Agyana Tirmanandish, I'm blind. But Gyananjana Shalaka, the first thing is that with Gyan, that I'm going to see Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmani Gavi Hasani, that I should respect all living entities, the spirit, soul, in an informational kind of way, in a theoretical kind of way. But it's important that we have that theory also. It may not, there's an interesting conversation with Srila Prabhupada and one, I think he was a Buddhist monk, as I recall. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it was a Christian monk. It was in Germany, as I recall. And he was a very philosophical person. He was very interesting, and he suggested to Srila Prabhupada something to the effect that, well, there's so much information and things that people are saying, but the real thing is realization. And Prabhupada just strongly disagreed with him. And I was a little shocked to see that Prabhupada was disagreeing, because we always stress this point, so many devotees stress this point, that it's not just information, but it's the feeling in the heart. And this guy got it right. But Prabhupada was disagreeing with him. And I really reflected on that conversation. And I came to the conclusion that the reason why Srila Prabhupada was stressing that, which is very different than what he stressed at other times also, how Krishna's Bhavagrahi Janardana, he appreciates the sentiment, not just the rules and things. But Prabhupada is stressing that in the beginning, you have to learn the basic philosophy. It's such an important thing. And this is a beginning of opening our eyes, that we learn this basic philosophy. Don't underestimate the basic philosophy. It's such a very, very important thing. And yes, later on we'll have Vigyan, we'll have realization, and we'll have so many, we may have Lila Spurtis even, and see pastimes and so many things. But let's be real, let's be where we're at. And in the beginning, just understand I'm not this body. And therefore Srila Prabhupada stressed those basic things so many times. Is that helpful, Tirthakar Prabhu?
Yeah, thank you, bro. Because I spoke similar topic with my Guru Maharaj, and also when I heard this your lectures, and it was becoming more and more clear. And today with this quotation, it's kind of ring the bell, you know.
There's these four principles of the mangalacaran that have to be there. The adhikar of the person, and the second, the sambandha. And if we just reflect on these two things as a speaker, it's so important. What is their qualification? What is their level? What is their connection? What can I say to them that they're going to be able to relate to? And not just doing some, what I was calling mental masturbation, just trying to enjoy myself by speaking and showing off how much philosophy I know in so many verses and this and that. And not that we shouldn't quote verses, but but we should be careful how we do it. It's confirmed. Here it's Akshaya Tritiya, and it's a big party everywhere. Our place here in Puri is a little quiet, but still there's a lot of bombs and fireworks and stuff going off. Thank you, Tirthakar Prabhu. And Radha Jivan Gopal Prabhu, do you want to share any thoughts of this? What did you win anything today? You get a prize?
Yeah, you were mentioning that before we should pay obeisances to Gurudev before we pay obeisances to the Vaishnavas, because it's Gurudev who's given us. Well, I was just thinking from a linear perspective, generally we come in contact with Vaishnavas and then insight on.
I'm losing you. Can you repeat what you just said? Maybe come closer to the mic.
So you were mentioning that we should first pay obeisances to Gurudev and then to the Vaishnavas, because Gurudev is the one who's given us the Vaishnavas. But from a linear perspective, most of us in our lives, the Vaishnavas came, into our lives, and then Gurudev was revealed to us. So I was just wondering if you could share some insight on exactly why that's the tattva.
Yeah, and by the way, I just want to say something to Smita Krishna Maharaj. Radha Jivan Gopal Prabhu is a real sweet. I think you would really like him, Maharaj. You see what's behind him on the wall? That's Gobar. And he takes care of the cows full time. And he's a real gwal, a real cowherd boy. Smita Krishna Maharaj has such a heart for cows and for natural living and things. And Radha Jivan Gopal Prabhu and Gaura Nitai Prabhu both. Gaura Nitai Prabhu was taking care of the cows in New Brajadam. So your point. Oh, summarize that again for me real quick. I'm sorry, I'm getting old.
So why is it that we'll pay obeisances to Gurudev before the Vaishnavas, but from a linear perspective, Vaishnavas before Gurudev?
I've commented on this before. There's a beautiful explanation given by Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj about this phrase that we quote from Prem Bhakti Chandrika of Narottam Das Thakur, that Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya Chitteti Koriya Aikya. And there's a sequence. This is, as far as I understand, we did some research with some scholars not so long ago about these three pramanas, sadhu, guru, and shastra. And as far as I know, the first time that was ever formally written was in Prem Bhakti Chandrika by Narottam Das Thakur. And so Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj comments on it. He says that it's presented in a sequence. That it's not that you just walk out and you see some, that's my guru. But first, generally, we meet a sadhu. And what is the quality of a sadhu? The quality of a sadhu is they speak shastra. They don't speculate. They tell us something substantial about Krishna. They speak to us about Bhagavad Gita and you're not your body and simple things. And then from that shastra that we've gotten from the sadhu, then we understand the necessity of guru, and we learn who my guru is, that I want guru. Guru is someone who's going to speak shastra, who's going to present these teachings to me. Guru is someone who's surrendered to his guru. That's guru. We know that by the mercy of sadhu. So, but then when I do my bhajan, and there's a difference, even in ISKCON we have this system a lot of times for new bhaktas. A lot of places they stress about, what do they call it, ashraya or something? I don't know. They have a term that I'm not used to, but they have some idea that someone's chanting the pranam mantra of a particular sadhu. And generally speaking, in our society, and I'm not saying this is traditional, but the spirit of it is traditional. Generally speaking, in our society, we begin devotees, a new bhakta, we tell them, you chant Srila Prabhupada's pranati, his pranam mantra, and you take shelter of Prabhupada. And it's not that we're Ridviks, it's not that we're saying that you can go directly to Prabhupada, but Prabhupada is there for everyone. And in effect, we're praying, oh Prabhupada, you come to me as your representative. That's what I would suggest we're doing. And then at a certain point, when we have faith in a particular sadhu, like you had faith in your Guru Maharaj at a certain point, then you may formally ask him, Maharaj, can I take shelter of you? And then they may tell you, okay, for the next 6 months or a year or something, you chant my pranam mantra, and you meditate on me and whatever, and we're taking shelter of that particular sadhu. Jiva Goswami presents something like this in an essential way in Bhakti Sandarbha, that in the beginning we may hear from so many different sadhus. But after some time we hear from one particular sadhu and we're inspired not just by the information the person gives, but the spirit that person has. And then we start wanting to hear more from that person. In the beginning it's like khichdi. Khichdi is something which whatever you've got in the kitchen, you throw in the khichdi. It may be celery, it may be carrots, it may be potatoes, whatever vegetables you have, whatever you've got, you throw in the khichdi. So in the beginning it's like khichdi. We're hearing from so many different devotees. And that's okay. And that's part of our society. But then after hearing from so many different sadhus, hearing shastra from them, then sometime I'm going to hear from a particular person and I want to get the mood of that person. That's the proper spirit in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Now again, amongst some Gyani type persons, they're going to have the attitude, I want the information this person has. And this person has a PhD in Sanskrit, so I want to learn and get this kind of informational content. But I suggest that's external to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. The real thing is we want the mood. Is that helpful? Radha Jivan Gopal Prabhu? Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. You really, I'll tell you, if you ever go to Europe, you got to go to Sweden or someplace and try to spend some time with Smita Krishna Maharaj. And I'm not just saying it to be nice or something, but I'm serious. He's someone who could really, really help you a lot in your understanding of the cows and taking care of things. Maharaj has got so much experience. That's like his life, dealing with those things. And another good person too is Leela Purushottam Prabhu. He doesn't have cows, but he's good with gardens and he keeps chickens. At least he used to. An interesting reason for the chickens. That's a good reason. Because they fertilize things and they eat all the bugs and he just moves them. He doesn't take the eggs. You don't take the eggs, right? You little Purushottam Prabhu? No, okay, good. Be very bad if you did. Okay, Krishna Kund, are you there? You want to reflect on anything? I think she's probably doing some physical therapy right now. Otherwise, Bhakti Rasa Prabhu, do you want to share anything? Can I turn this thing to you here, Mike?
If I have a question.
Yeah, that's fine.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Here's Bhakti Rasa Prabhu. Go ahead. For those who don't know, Bhakti Rasa Prabhu, as I mentioned in the beginning, is Rita Prabhu's son, but he's also, his brother is Gopal, the famous Mridanga player by Indra Prabhu. So you may know, Vila Purushottam Prabhu, I think, knows Gopal very well. You may know Bhakti Rasa Prabhu also.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Anyway, thank you very much. You're our guest of honor here today. It's a special thing. I realized a few years ago that when we present kata, I want to do in a small, intimate circle, and that's what we've been having. But then sometimes somebody comes, like Bhakti Rasa Prabhu, and at one point I thought, well, this is not good. They're an outsider; they shouldn't come. And I thought, no, that's not right. It's even more sweet because then they're a guest. Like Smita Krishna Maharaj also tonight. When we have some special guest, then we treat them even more special, and we want to welcome them to the Sangha. So thank you very much, Bhakti Rasa Prabhu. And Jai Gaura Prabhu, you want to share anything? And then Bana, is Bana there with you?
The class, but she went off to do some service.
Okay.
You just stuck with just me this time. Can you hear me well?
Yeah. I'm gonna mute my mic because it might affect your sound.
Okay. I had a couple thoughts. My friend who's studying Sanskrit, he said that he mentioned to me the other day when we were talking that this Gyananjana Shalakaya, that Shalak, another meaning of it is that it's like a scalpel that they use to remove cataracts. I think you've said that before. I was just thinking, wow, that gives like a whole another kind of like a heavier, just an interesting meaning to the verse also. It's like cutting away some ignorance, and the other way is like applying an ointment which allows you to understand, but then so it's like both. It's like the positive.
The one explanation I really like too, it indicates another thing, and that is that the fault is not with the spiritual presentation, the fault is not with the holy name, the fault is not with the Bhagavatam, the fault is with my vision. The sun is there, but the fault, the difficulty is there's a cloud separating myself from the sun. And similarly, Krishna is there, he's bright, he's pure, the holy name is there, but I have this cataract on my eye, therefore I can't see, and therefore Gurudev comes and he cuts. And how does he cut? He cuts with harsh words. They're like bombs. He speaks very harsh things, and he cuts away those cataracts of ignorance. So that's a great example you brought up, Jagar. Thank you, Prabhu. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I have one other quick thing. I know it's getting late, but you were speaking about this Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam verse, and I was thinking to where I believe it's from in the like the kind of like the situation where originated somewhat in the CC where Rupa Goswami is sharing the Dagda Madhava and the Lita Madhava with the devotees, and Ramananda Roy and the devotees are saying like Rupa Goswami, if you didn't give him your special mercy, then how could he know like your heart? And then a few verses later, he shares that in Arpita Chirimcharat verse, and which is such a lovely verse, and we recite all the time. It's so beautiful. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not; he's displeased by it. It says in the CC, which I thought was really interesting. So, and we talk about we want to please Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, don't chant my name, you chant Krishna, and that's you chant Krishna's name, that's how you please him. And so, but there's this glorificatory verse of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it's like we love to recite it and meditate on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but if it's not pleasing to him, you know, it's seemingly not pleasing to him. So I was just wondering if you could say something about that, like how, what do we do?
Yeah, thank you. In a similar way, in our own personal dealings with people, if you meet a new person on the street and you speak to them about bhakti and the holy name, and they become very excited and they say, wow, man, this is so great, I really like this. And that person, then they say, would you mind, I'd like to start chanting your name. Jai Guru, Jai Guru Chan, Jai Guru Chan, Jai, you know, how are you going to feel? Like, hey man, chill out, you know, you're not going to appreciate that. Rather, you're going to tell him, no, you should chant the name of Krishna. You should worship Krishna. That's why we're here. But at the same time, two things are there. One, on one side, if they appreciate you, you're actually happy with that as a preacher, isn't it? If they have great respect for you, and that's not just false ego on your part. I would say that the Antaryami is in your heart also, and the Antaryami is happy that this person is responding to the medium or the vehicle of the message. And if we're free from false ego ourselves, then we can be happy that this person's appreciating me. But at the same time, I don't want you to glorify me in my presence. But if you want to do that somewhere else, that's okay. And that's the nature of disciples. And Gurudev, he doesn't want to have the disciples come and start doing kirtan of his names. And he wants them to do Krishna kirtan. But Gurudev is also happy when he sees that the disciples have strong faith in him. And they're coming together, maybe amongst themselves in an intimate sangha, they speak something. And I say intimate because the Hari Bhakti Vilas quotes the Samoyan Tantra saying, Gopayad Gurumatmanaha, that we should hide our Guru. We shouldn't advertise our Guru just to everyone. But in an intimate sangha, amongst people who are not envious, and even sometimes some of our God brothers might be envious, even of our Gurudev. You may glorify your Gurudev before some of your God brothers, and they may say, oh, come on, man. You know, you can't really believe that he's Nikunja Yuno Reti Kele Siddhya. I mean, give me a break. You can't really believe that Gurudev is like that. You know, I mean, he's nice, and he's in charge of the institution. He's a senior devotee. We respect him because of that. They may have some envy also. They may be a God brother, but they're not an intimate person. So you can't speak like that with them. But if somebody is not envious, then Gurudev is pleased. If we have that love and respect for him, but we have the maturity at the same time to understand that our bhajan pranali that Gurudev is giving us is not worship of him, but it's worship of Krishna. And we appreciate him because he's giving us Krishna. Krishna say tomorrow, Krishna dite paro tomorrow shakati achi. Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays like that. That this sadhu is giving me this thing. We should understand that. And therefore, again, we appreciate Sadhu Guru because of what he's giving, not just because of some mystical realization he has, or he's this or that, and we have some speculation, but we appreciate the gifts that Gurudev has given us. But we may do that a little more privately. So I understand your point. There's an apparent contradiction there. Is it resolved nicely by this way? It's okay?
I think so, Prabhu. I was also thinking about like, you know, on Vyasa Puja, like a lot of the time a spiritual master will like, you know, have to sit there through lots of public glorifications, and it might feel, you know, I'm sure it feels very uncomfortable to them, but they have like a certain understanding that they're offering this thing to their spiritual master. At least that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada taught us that he would play kartals during Guru Puja. The devotees are worshiping him because he's doing Guru Puja for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta very enthusiastically. And even somebody might come and say, wow, Jai Gaur, that was a great class you gave this morning. You know, I really like that. And you might say, yeah, you're right. Actually, you should appreciate it more. You should say more things because I'm repeating what I heard from my Guru, and it doesn't belong to me. Now, maybe socially that might be a little awkward to speak like that, but that may be our spirit. If we're really free from ego, then we understand it belongs to Gurudev, it doesn't belong to me. And when somebody comes and says something, oh wow, that was really great, no, it's not me. I'm just the vehicle. But the message is coming from my Gurudev. The inspiration is coming from my Gurudev. The instruction is coming from my Gurudev. And so it all belongs to him. And if we give it to him, then we're not poisoned by that. Okay?
Thank you, Guru.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. We're looking forward to hopefully seeing you guys at the Govardhan retreat. Are you going to drag Radha along?
He might already be there. Who knows? We're looking forward to following you around for as long as possible after we get there for the Govardhan.
All right. We miss you guys. Hare Krishna. You had something?
Something, but you didn't let me say.
Okay, Krishna Kun's here. She has a reflection she wants to share. Go ahead. You're not going to be happy if I turn the camera on you, are you? Okay.
I was really struck by your definition of Prema Bhakti. I know that I had an exchange with someone today about the difference between Bhava and Prema Bhakti. But this one really struck me, that Prema Bhakti is when you know the Mano Vishnam of your Gurudev. And I saw that was very significant, because for me it means a couple of things. One of them is that it's a gift, it's by mercy, it's not
Speak louder.
by our own endeavor, it's a gift that is given. And it's not a result of a mechanical process or spiritual process that I'm performing, but it's by mercy. But also it's about the relationship, and that's the main thing. And that we are not able to enter into Krishna association, into any form of Krishna association without our Gurudev. And it was just very, very special to me. And actually, when you spoke about Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnam, the Antika, how being near means being close to the instructions, keeping our Gurudev's instructions, keeping our Gurudev's Mano Vishna with us. That's what being near means. So that was a very, very significant point for me. Thank you.
Let me just reflect on that for a moment. It's something really close to my heart. I see it as a kind of danger in our Vaishnava society today, that many devotees equate information gathering with bhakti. And this misunderstanding goes way, way back. Let's go look back about 1,000 years ago, to the time of Shankaracharya, who was one of our acharyas, who was the incarnation of Lord Shiva. And once there was a group of disciples, and they were sitting on the bank of a river. I think it was a Padma river, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, maybe it was a Kaveri in South India. And they were speaking, and somebody was mentioning one of Ramanuja's disciples who didn't know Sanskrit, didn't know many verses, and he was just kind of a real simpleton kind of thing. And Shankaracharya could understand they had this misconception. And so suddenly he called for that disciple. Hey, come. And I can't remember the name of the disciple. Later he was called something like Padmanayan or Padmalaya or Padma something, because he was on the other side of the river. And as soon as his guru called him, immediately he came running there. But there's no way to cross the river. So he ran and he walked on the water. He walked on the lotus flowers, and he managed to cross over the river. It's a miracle, like in the category of Jesus Christ. He walked on the water, went across the lotus flowers, in great enthusiasm to come to his guru. And when the other disciples saw that, their pride was broken in their scholarship. So if we stress this thing so much, it'll destroy our movement. Because there's so many people who may come to our movement who don't have the time or the aptitude or the ability to collect a lot of information. But they may become a Premi Bhakta, they may get Krishna Prem. And if we always put Krishna Prem as the topmost goal, then everything will be good in our society. But if we put this information there, it's a kind of violence. That was my little reflection. I'm saying, go on.
It just seems that Prabhupada gave us so many very precious things that look so simple that we might miss it unless we study deeply and chant deeply and pray. And my other reflection was, I was just thinking about this Shrutek Shitapata. I love this phrase. And I quickly looked up Jiva Goswami's commentary on this. And a very nice thing he's saying that I thought the devotees might like to hear. He says specifically that Shruta means hearing specifically about the form of Krishna. And then from the form of Krishna, Lila is always connected to a particular form of Krishna. So when we hear constantly like that, then the Ikshita, then Krishna becomes pleased to purify the heart, take his seed there, and then we can see him in our heart.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I just
We were just having a discussion. It's a shame that Ujjwala Rasika left already, because she was just asking me this the other day about Bhaktivinoda and Harinam Chintamani says that Name Prasvatito Hai Rupa Guna Karma, that the holy name will blossom, and the first thing will be Rup, the form of Krishna, then Guna, the qualities of Krishna, then Karma, the Leela, or pastimes of Krishna. So this is the same point presented from a different perspective by Jiva Goswami. That's brilliant.
And
Okay.
also I love that, love your comment that Patha means that this is the path towards receiving Gurudev's mercy. It's not a path to collect information, it's not a path for anything else. It's to receive mercy. And that's what will make Krishna manifest. It's not our endeavor, it's not our hearing even. It's the mood that we pick up from him and the mercy that we get because we try to hear the service to him.
Thank you. It's so nourishing for me to be able to be in a Sangha like this. I really appreciate it. And today to have Smita Krishna Maharaj here. It's really, really special. And Bhakti Rasa Prabhu also. Thank you all very much. So we'll go ahead and stop, and next week we'll be back again, and we'll continue. And next week, I promise, I'm going to try to go faster. We did 2 verses, and I'm going to try to do 3 or 4 and just give a general overview for things. I just couldn't resist diving a little more deeply. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki jai, Gopremanandi Hari Hari Bol, Vancha Kalpa Darubhishcha, Kripa Sindhu Bheva Cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.